As City on Fire begins to wrap things up, we get a slight bit of hope for Sam as Emery's world begins to crash down as William begins to connect the final dots that would link Emery to all that's going on. So for the first topic, it's just to note that in this episode, it's Sam's birthday. And while she's still in a coma, seemingly at an S post facto concert, her father does get the gift of seeing her eyes flutter a little bit, which gives him some kind of hope. But because nothing shows up on the monitors and the nurses didn't see it, they're still very unsure about whether or not Sam's going to make it. And with this in mind, be it by luck or just by circumstance, both Charlie and also Keith go to visit Sam. Charlie ends up there first, Keith after, and Charlie goes there not just for the sake of her birthday, since he didn't know it seems, but because he wanted to say goodbye. With all he knows about Nikki Chaos and what's going on with them, he wants to turn himself in and just be done with all this. As for Keith, even though it seems he's trying to potentially reconcile with his wife Regan, at the same time he still harbors something for Sam, so he checks on her. And as he talks, Charlie, who hid as soon as Keith snuck in like he did, he decides to confront him, and as Amory's name is mentioned and other circumstances, Charlie begins putting things together just as much as Keith is putting things together. And no sooner than Charlie's trying to get out of there because of what he knows, him and Keith get into a scuffle to the point where the nurses get involved and the cops are called. Which leads into the second topic, which is pretty much the final parts of Amory's story and potentially his current legacy. As established, Bill Sr. was about to go down for tax evasion, for trumping up some of the assets that the company had, and it seems it came to a point where Bill Sr. realized, I'm being set up, and because people think he has dementia or something like that, he gets to step away without anyone really figuring out what he's doing. As this happens, William and Mercer wake up in Regan's house, get acquainted with her kids, and pretty much it seems, despite the time and distance and the issues, Regan and William are in a better place. Probably the best place they've been in since the whole disconnection. But William decides to test that a little bit by bringing up Regan's first child, which is still a very sore subject, and him even bringing up what gender the child is like a serious keep going, we're going to have issues again type of thing. So he lets that go, but not the Emery thing, especially since William has a meeting with Detective Parser, and when Detective Parser brings in William, Regan follows, and Bill eventually meets up with them, and this leads to a lot of the dots being connected, and even Mercer's there, I should note. For with that board that they have up, and then with Keith being brought in and him noticing his family there, and him giving some information based off of what he knows and also what Charlie mentioned, pretty much the realization is the LH Project is connected to Nikki because the LH Project was Amory's baby. He wanted to basically make a small town in the upper part of Manhattan, maybe going toward the Bronx and Queens. But at the time, the prices were too expensive. So Nikki committing arson would pretty much destroy the area, lower the land prices, and then using a blight decree, which is the city selling property off or selling land off because of its disgusting look for a very cheap price. That is how Emery believed he'll be able to get this project off the ground, get the investors he needed, and really cement his legacy beyond the social climbing that have gotten to the position that he's in now. However, with being able to connect the dots and Bill Sr. speaking to someone at the city hall to know about the blight decree being issued, it seems that Emery is through. But unfortunately, not learning from the last time, instead of just letting the cops handle things, arresting Emery, instead William, Regan, Bill Sr., and more, they decide to confront Emery, and at first, it seems Emery would rather jump off a building than face charges, but then one of his security members stabs William, and that allows Emery to get away. And unfortunately, no sooner than he gets away in his car, a blackout hits. And with that blackout, So comes complications of Detective McFadden trying to follow up on this, since she gets caught up in the whole William getting stabbed thing and thus can't go after Amory. Which leaves one last thing to talk about, and that's the bomb. As the Hamilton Sweeney family deals with their issues, Detective McFadden is distracted, Charlie is in custody with Detective Parser, and he just wants to save whoever he can from the bomb that Nikki, DT, and Sol planted. Now, Detective McFadden is aware of it through the conversation she had before she had to run off. Detective Parser becomes more aware of it, and with that, Charlie is taken to the Hamilton Sweeney building because that is where the bomb is assumed to be. At first, it's hard to say where it is. The bomb squad looking around, not sure it is. But then Charlie spots Sewer Girl, aka Lorraine, follows her up and somehow keeps pace of her. Never mind Detective Parser, when he sees that Charlie's escaped the vehicle, he's somehow able to keep track of them. And they discover where the bomb is right outside of Emery's office. Now, how are they going to defuse the bomb, which seems to have only like a few minutes left? Never mind get somebody up there to get onto the scaffolding, since in order to plant the bomb, Nikki and Sol became window washers, so they left the bomb on a scaffold where they would do the window washing. So in order to get to it, either A, you're going to have to bust out a window, or B, jump from one of the few windows that open. And being that Charlie thinks there's not enough time left, rather than listen to Lorraine and just accept the fate that they have walked themselves into, he decides to jump. So just for some quick facts, the episode is called The Demon Brother because that is the name of the bomb that Nikki and his crew made. The second fact is, how did Nikki's crew get the bomb at the Hamilton Sweeney building? And as noted earlier, Nikki, Sol, and DT became window cleaners to plant the bomb right outside of Emery's office. And the last notable fact is, what is the LH Project? To make a long story short, the LH Project is the Liberty Heights Project, which was Emery's focus in terms of using arson to lower the prices throughout the Bronx to buy the property for cheap and basically build the equivalent of a small town. The project formally went dead due to the original cost to buy up all the properties, hence Nikki is used to drive them down through arson and make the area less appealing. In doing so, Nikki would help justify the issuance of a blight decree from the city, where the Hamilton Sweeney group could buy the property for cheap. So the highlight for this episode is Emery's comeuppance, and yes, it feels a little too swift considering how he's been built up so well, but you know eventually it's going to happen. He is confronted, a surprise attack may let him escape, but I should note, rather than let him get away in this episode, he gets into a car accident because with the blackout, so goes all the traffic lights. Now, mind you, in this episode it's not clear whether or not he dies, but whether or not he's left into a similar state as Detective Parser, but is technically still able-bodied, or if he dies, that's for the finale to reveal. So right now we're just left in a space where we're left to wonder, is this going to be the end of Emery, and this show is going to lose its villain? Well, at least one of its top villains. Or is it going to be a situation where the last episode is really going to play out, maybe Emery doing like a James Bond type of confession or something similar. So the next highlight is just this being some kind of hope for Sam, and it's a highlight for us because Sam is still the main hook when it comes to the show to us. So while it'll be a beautiful thing for Emery to get caught, for Sol to get caught, Nikki too, because of the whole bomb thing, right now her eyes fluttering is probably the thing we're most excited about. And I just hope that they don't leave this show, or rather this season, on the cliffhanger where she just finally opens her eyes, like in the final moments of the finale, and then we're just left wondering what's next for her. So the last highlight for us is Charlie trying to be a hero, and that's because Charlie's leap of faith and being the man that Lorraine knew he could be, it's all very inspiring, kind of adorable in a way. But at the same time, I'll be lying to you if I didn't say a part of me wanted to see him fall. I know it's not going to happen, because if they wouldn't kill William off, I doubt they would kill off Charlie. But also, I feel like, in a way, just seeing Charlie go from this mousy kid with minimal life experience to now jumping out of a window several stories up, and then being determined to disable a bomb that could potentially wipe out a city block, there are potential layers to that. because we can never forget that Charlie's dad died in 9/11, which was a terrorist attack. So him being able to prevent a terrorist attack, in some ways I feel is kind of poetic, because this is him trying to save people when nobody was able to save his father. Overall, when it comes to setting up the season finale, City on Fire seems geared toward ending on a high note, but there's always a chance that, since this isn't a miniseries, that it's going to set something up for a season 2 that I still strongly feel this show does not need and can't really build up to in a good way.